Why you Indians eat so much spice? I think this why you dark.
Why were there no police? Why were there no CRPF? Where exactly did we go wrong? How did they enter? And how did they even go back?
And there was the fact that a US vice president was visiting. Now, historically, if you look at it, every presidential visit to India has brought about some terror attack or the other.
Just had a ceasefire announced by the president of US, not anyone from government of India. Second, we did not ask for those terrorists who did that in the first place. We did not even try to bargain out to bring Kulbhushan Yadav sir or anyone. What did we get out of it, and why was Mr. Trump allowed to do that?
But the Balochis are brave freedom fighters, and I think India should always support freedom fighters.
Before the labels come flying, misogynist, sangi, fake, and whatnot, for featuring this person again, let me say this upfront. I come from a school of thought that believes in platforming diverse voices, even the ones I deeply disagree with. That's the very essence of Desi Dialogues with Naimisha. You're free to have a different opinion, to disagree with me, or even with my guest. But here's one humble request. Watch this podcast. Watch this podcast before you form your own opinion. So, Mitro and not so Mitro, for the second and the spicier round of Desi Dialogues with Naimisha, I welcome my very favorite, my guest, and the most controversial person with more controversies under his belt and some secrets to spill. Here's Abhijit Iyer Mitra for you all. So, hi Abhijit, welcome back.
Thank you for having me on. And, I protest very strongly against the torture I was subjected to earlier.
That's not me, that's Shivaroor's poha.
No. Shivaroor needs to be locked up in jail for all his food posts. Huh?
But you love it anyway.
He's Wajibul Cutlet, as we say.
Do you think he did the same thing in Kashmir out there while reporting?
I'm sure he did, bro. I'm sure he did. I'm sure he was thinking 100 times. I think because of the situation of what had happened at Pahalgam, he didn't put out these tweets calling Rishta, Gushtaba, Tabak Maz as mediocre foods. Otherwise, knowing him, wo zarur karta ye sab.
Oh my. You know, while we are talking about Kashmir and Pahalgam, there's so many things. Operation Sindoor happened, and this was the first time ever after 1971 where a tri-service, kind of a military thing happened where Air Force, Naval, and every kind our force were involved. What do you think? Why, it happened after so many years? Pehle bhi we saw Uri, we saw Balakot, but why in Operation Sindoor?
So I'll tell you what the general, and because the government doesn't communicate very well, we're just extrapolating. I think, Modi tried in his first few months in office, first few years in office to normalize ties with Pakistan because he wanted to give peace a shot. Okay, think of this as, the Rajiv Gandhi nuclear action plan. So when Rajiv Gandhi decided he wanted to make nuclear weapons, he came up with this RGAP, which was this plan for global nuclear disarmament. And of course, everybody rejected it. And he said, haan bhai, dekho, I tried. Everybody said no. And now we have no choice. Therefore, we have to start manufacturing our own nuclear bombs. Now, Modi tried very hard with Nawaz Sharif because he knew Nawaz Sharif had been the one who had tried, quite hard to make peace and things like that. If you remember, Nawaz Sharif was invited to the first swearing in 2014. Yeah. And then he went to Nawaz Sharif's family wedding and things like that as a special guest. And gifted a sari, which incidentally, Pakistani, even though it's banned in Pakistan in private, all the elite ladies, they wear saris in private. Huh?
Okay, I didn't know that saris are banned in Pakistan.
Yeah, saris are. Ziaul Haq banned it because, it shows the midriff. I mean, if you look at early British lithos of India, the sari was actually a micro mini skirt and a tube top with the extension of the micro mini skirt going over the shoulder.
Like a dupatta. Yeah.
So, well, in a cross, not, I mean, dupatta to aise hota hai, ye fir aise hota hai na? But, it was banned. Anyway, so Modi tried. Then what happened was that when the first attack happened, the Air Force base, there was the Uri attack, which was a ground attack. The second, now remember, in the West, air power is considered least escalatory. Ground forces are considered very escalatory because air power, you're just going in, zoom, 10 minutes max, flying at supersonic speed and out. ठीक है? Ground forces present an actual physical threat. In South Asia, though, and in many other parts of the world, it is ground forces are considered least escalatory, whereas air force is considered much more escalatory, right? So it was escalated from Uri, which was a ground force attack, to Balakot in response to Pulwama, which was an air force attack. So you can see he had already sent the message that every terror attack is now going to get escalated what we do in response to you. But remember, what happened after the Pahalgam attack wasn't just a response to Pahalgam. It was also a response to what had happened in November 2024 in Riyasi. It was an accretion of events where, in November last year, they had gone and shot these pilgrims, and the bus then, the bus driver, to save whoever, fell into the gorge, and that killed more people, right? So it was Riyasi plus Pahalgam. Pahalgam was, of course, much more in-your-face outrageous. Therefore, it sort of triggered the fuse. But he's always been showing he's willing to escalate the ladder, which is a very good thing, by the way, because, Pakistan has to pay a price. And that is what he's showing. Now, whether the Pakistanis take the message or not, look, I was always taught, when you train a dog, it's quite counterintuitive. बहुत लोगों को मैंने देखा है, when they'll keep, when they've got a puppy and the puppy runs off. When the puppy comes back, they'll slap it. First of all, you should never slap a child or a dog or anything like that. But when he's come back, when he's finally listened to you, you slap him. Why would you do that? You need to reward him the moment he comes back, no matter how naughty he's been, right? The problem is, Pakistan thoda bawla hai. They're the types who will interpret giving them a treat when they come back as validation of the entire cycle of running away. Okay. So Pakistan needs a very, very firm hand. This is not a regular sort of a state to deal with. I think he's spot on the message, because remember, there was a lot of doubts raised about what we hit in Balakot, right? There was that New York Times' favorite OSINT guy, Nathan Ruser, who even got the attack vectors of the bombs wrong. He didn't even know which direction the bombs had hit from. Then they said 3 small holes. Yeah, 3 small holes doesn't matter. You know what a dum-dum bullet is? So a dum-dum bullet is a bullet in whose head there's a little piece of mercury.
Okay.
And what happens is, when it enters, the friction makes it so hot, it expands and it bursts inside. So the entry wound will be tiny. The exit wound will be massive. And it will also spread lots of shrapnel around. Okay? So getting all the pieces out will take several years, right? The 3 entry holes don't show you the kind of explosive effects that happen behind. Now what we've done is, पहले तो बोल रहे थे फोटो दिखाओ, इस बार सब फोटो दिखा भी दिया. And you can tell the extent of damage, because if you look at the sort of mosque in Bahawalpur, we now have inside and outside images. If you look at it from outside, it is exactly like Balakot. 3 holes on top, 3 holes on top here, 3 of the domes blown up. But when you look inside, you look at the scale of devastation inside, right? Very, very significant. Now with Balakot, they all said, oh, this was, crows being brought down, some trees were felled. It bought us 5 years of peace. Okay. For 5 years, there were no major terror attacks till Riyasi happened in 2024, right? So it bought us a lot of time. If this buys you more time, totally worth it.
While we talk about that there was no major attack, we need to come to this fact that, don't you think in somewhere, while of course there's one part that says ki the first, like koi aapke ghar mein ghus raha hai, the first thing you would do is to, attack back, protect, be defensive. But was there not an intelligence lab? Because you speak about Pahalgam, that's a tourist place. Kashmir has a sensitive nerve. Why were there no police? Why were there no CRPF? Where exactly did we go wrong? How did they enter? And how did they even go back?
Okay, so how they enter and go back. Now remember, when there was an insurgency, today there is no insurgency, there are terror attacks. If terror attacks don't equal an insurgency. If you go back to the 1990s and 2000s, there were bombs going off in Bombay every 2 years, 2-3 years, right? Was Bombay under an insurgency situation? No. There were terror attacks, but not an insurgency. So first, let's differentiate between that. During the insurgency, it was very easy for them to keep crossing the border. Now it is not, because first of all, local support for the insurgency has collapsed completely. I would argue there wasn't much. It was kind of a created situation. There's something called a conflict economy, where everybody is invested in the conflict continuing, right? That has been cracked very decisively. Now, what is the measure of an intelligence failure? So there are three things: an intelligence failure, an intelligence deficit, and an intelligence lacuna. Okay? Now, an intelligence lacuna, let's assume Naimisha has planned secretly, despite feeding me poha and other grotesque things, she has decided she wants to actually slit my throat, slit my mother's throat, slit my dog's throat, slit my cat's throat. I have no idea, because talking to you, you appear to be a very sweet person. In spite of the horrible genocide you carried out on me with poha earlier on, you appear to be a very sweet person. Now, suddenly you take out the knife and slit my throat. Was this an intel failure? No, it was an intel lacuna. I can never know what I do not know. And other than God, if you believe in God, nobody is all seeing, all knowing. It is a physical impossibility. You will never know everything. Okay. So this is a intel lacuna. You can't blame anyone for it. It is a learning experience from which you then fix. इस बार हम blindsided हुए थे. We shouldn't get blindsided the next time. Let us find out more about this thing. The problem is there will be other things that come up which you will not know about. So you can never know everything. Okay. The second is an intel deficit. Okay. An intel deficit is what I would classify, say, 9/11 as. I don't classify 9/11 as an intel failure. I classify it as an intel deficit, and I'll tell you why. Now, these days, intel failure is used as a political catch-all term because people don't know better. So all these certain MP type people, they will just bandy it about because they don't know what the term is. They've just heard it. It's buzzwords and they use it. Intel deficit is where I saw Naimisha badmouth me to somebody. I saw Naimisha have a knife on her. I did not think much of it.
Red flags.
Red flags. And therefore, it was a intel deficit. I didn't know what the knife was for. Maybe she was being, there was some undue attention she was getting and she was carrying the knife for self-defense or something like that. Maybe she just didn't like my political views or whatever, having thrown me in jail previously. Therefore, she had this thing. Can you punish somebody for it? No. Because at 9/11, what happened was, the one clinching piece of evidence that they had was the fact that the Saudi and Emirati and other Moroccan pilots, they were learning how to go up in the air, but they weren't very interested in learning how to land. Now, I had a PPL, private pilot's license, so I can tell you, landing is terrifying. Even I did not know. I used to want to avoid landing.
I didn't know you had a PPL.
Yeah. So I got in Australia. So you know what? Taking off is very easy. You just do your calculations, weight calculations and things. You know the rotation and things like that. You know how to take off, winds, whatever. Landing, imagine you're coming at great speed, depending on the stall speed of the aircraft, at about 170, 180. It's essentially a controlled crash. You've got a tricycle landing gear. It's a 3-point landing. First, one wheel has to land, then the second wheel has to land, and then finally the front wheel has to land. It's a controlled crash. It's very, very dangerous. It's very scary. And because I'd read all the intel reports, I got my PPL in 2006 or 7, 5, 6, something like that. And by this time, all the so-called intel failures of 9/11 and the fact that these guys didn't want to land was very clear. So I never told my instructor, brown skin saying I don't want to land, that's an intel flag that goes up. I didn't want to land up in Australian security police custody, right? but I was shit scared of landing. Now you tell me, if you're an intel officer seeing all these people who want to go up in the air and not land, at that point, what are you thinking? There's a natural human reaction that there's a pilot is always a bit I mean, there are some crazy pilots I know who live for landing. I'm not one of them, but they are very clearly going to be hesitant to land. Is this actually, see, post facto, you can say this should have been seen. But realistically, no, because we all know, anybody who is a pilot knows the amount of pilots who have a great, I won't say fear, this, yaar, we had such a good time and now we have to land. You don't want to land.
That's a
It can
dangerous
also
one.
be, because, flying is such a joy, it's, for me, every flight is a miracle.
Even a tabletop, airport, I would hate.
I mean, tabletop airports are much more dangerous to land in,
Yeah.
but anyway. So, how? So, this is an intel deficit. Intel failure is where Naimisha has gone around telling everyone, I'm going to kill Abhijit, I'm going to kill his family with him, I hate Abhijit, look at my knife, I'm going to take it and stab him now, I'm going to slit his throat now. And I fail to process it. So it's like a jigsaw puzzle. Intel failure is where you had a reasonable amount of the picture and failed to act on it. Intel deficit is where you couldn't make out what the picture was. You had little pieces of it. Intel lacuna is where you had nothing.
Interesting. This is a new perspective.
Now, I'm not saying there may not have been an Intel failure because we don't know what we knew when we knew. We certainly knew that an attack had to come. Just like I'm very certain one more attack now has to come. And I'll tell you why. Before Pahalgam, the army chief of staff, the Pakistani army chief of staff, you saw his obscene, nonsensical speech, right? We have sacrificed, you should be the sacrifice, typical bloody Punjabi English nonsense. Punglish. Pung Muja English.
Oh my.
So, there was that speech. There was the fact that they were blaming India for that Balochistan train attack. And there was the fact that a US vice president was visiting. Now, historically, if you look at it, every presidential visit to India has brought about some terror attack or the other. When Clinton came, there was the Chatti Singhpura massacre. Then when Obama came twice, it didn't happen directly with him, but George Bush came twice. George Bush came once. Within a month of it, they couldn't carry out the attack because there was full-scale curfew on. It happened a month later. With Obama, there were attacks very proximate to his attacks. When Trump happened, there were the Delhi riots and things, literally on the day he landed. So, there's always been this thing that they want to coordinate something exactly when an American president comes.
Is it like the China ka dhamki?
No, that's a completely different thing. So this one is very clear. So 3 vectors were intersecting. Presidential visit, high probability of attack. Over-the-top speech by Chief of Army Staff, almost certain attack. Them blaming us for the Balochistan train attack. So we knew an attack was coming. Now, knowing an attack is coming and knowing when it is coming, where it is coming, 2 completely different things. Now, had they known somewhere ki tourist spot mein hone wala hai ya is din ko hone wala hai, then you can classify it as an intel failure. But these things, they take about a year of meticulous investigation to then find out what actually happened. You can't just bandy about terms like, well, you can, it's a free country, but you can't. I mean, serious people should. These certain semi-literate types in parliament can bandy about whatever they want.
But then you, please explain me on this part that, when you say that it happens with every time that there's a US president or vice president is visiting, then that attack happens. Why does Pakistan have that audacity to do, and what do they get out of it?
They get out of it because, see, they know they're not going to get Kashmir. So all they can do is publicity. Then they'll go back to their audience and say, see, this legislator raised the Kashmir issue in parliament, in the UK parliament, or in the American Congress. We have successfully internationalized or re-internationalized the situation. Okay, their whole thing is the world's focus should be on Kashmir. Okay, that is the only thing they're looking for right now. It's more like I keep using this analogy because Nita Bhabi is such a fun analogy to use. So Nita Bhabi is driving outside. She's just come outside Antilla in her Rolls Royce Phantom. Okay. Now, previously, this is the same guy who had walked up to Mukesh Bhai and said, Bhai, main tere ko investment advice dega. And he says, Chal put be. Now he has to live down the humiliation of that. Now he can't really become financial advisor to Nita Bhabi. So he knocks and says, she lowers the window out of kindness and he throws a 5 rupee note in there. उसको दिखाना है, देख मैंने चिल्लड़ फेंक दिया. You get that? That is what Pakistan is up to. They want to show off to their friends कि हमने internationalize कर दिया है dispute को. So it's a very, it's too much expenditure for too little in return. If you want 5 to 10 days worth of headlines is what you've carried out a terror attack for, how pathetic are you? But that's the stage they're at. But we also expect an attack to eventuate now. You know why? Because for those 3 days, we did a very bad job with PR. We went putting out battle damage assessment immediately. But on the 10th onwards, we really got our game together. And we've put together such a hard, solid dossier on how much damage we caused them. We literally paralyzed their Air Force. They claim that their Air Force destroyed our Air Force on the first day. Great. But let's look at what happened after that. All your major runways were disabled. Disabled in a way, especially if you look at Sargodha, where it's an X. We've bombed right in the center of the X, so neither of the 2 runways can be used. Right? So it's a very, very significant thing you've done. You've literally confined their Air Force to the ground.
But
they can't take off.
Kirana Hills?
Look, Kirana Hills wasn't the actual thing. Kirana Hills was such a bogus attack. The Pakistanis played it up. We fell into the trap of talking up Kirana Hills. Okay. The real thing was actually at Noor Khan Air Base. Now, if you live in Delhi, it's literally like attacking the VIP area at Palam Airport. You know, where the electronic intelligence aircraft are, where the Prime Minister's aircraft are, which is from where a nuclear attack is launched technically. It's between Delhi and Gurgaon. And Delhi and Gurgaon is like, Rawalpindi and Islamabad. So it's one of those things where you've attacked in the heart. You've literally attacked the nuclear command and control center. What we now know was used to distribute nuclear attack orders. And killed off. Now, you see, if you destroy a plane, an F-16 at least can be manufactured in about 6 to 9 months. You kill off the human beings operating it. Now, imagine if they were the top secret guys who were operating the nuclear command in this thing. They've had at least 8 to 10 years worth of training and reliability vetting and things like that. You've destroyed a whole cadre of officers who were trained for a very, very specific job that will take you years and years and years to replace. Right? So it is a very, very serious strike, that one. I don't think, in India, unfortunately, we don't value Pakistan also, they don't value human lives. When people die, I've noticed this. Have you noticed this with road accidents? I'm sure many of you are also guilty of this. You will all look at the Mercedes or the Audi that has crashed. Hey, Mercedes ka kya hua?
Audi se maar diya.
Hey, Audi ka kya hua? Nobody actually cares about what happened to the people inside the car.
Yeah. The Porsche did hit. It's not about the person out there.
Yeah, it's about how the Porsche got damaged. So, the human destruction is actually much, much more valuable in real terms than the equipment destruction. Now, because we made such piggy-wiggies out of them in public, they have to save face. So what they're doing is, the surest sign that they have to save face is for Asim Munir to be promoted to Field Marshal. Now, if they took down the Air Force planes as they claim they did, ये तो Air Force ने किया था ना, तो Air Chief Marshal को, उनके Air Chief Marshal should have been made Marshal of the Air Force. Did their army somehow sprout wings and start flying aircraft and shoot down aircraft?
Well, it's possible. If
so then how does this man get to be Field Marshal?
Just the way drones were seen in Delhi.
So, this... that shows you that is first level desperation. The second level desperation is all these Pakistani military guys, they've been calling up all these foreign military academies and things saying, you need to host a delegation from us. We want to pay a goodwill visit. literally, they're calling up and begging them to host a goodwill visit of the Pakistan Air Force and Pakistan Military Academy. Okay, you know why?
Goodwill and Pakistan.
Because they are telling their people, look, we are being invited. It's literally the shamelessness ki Naimisha is getting married. Naimisha did not invite me. I'm like, hey, Naimisha, you remember me, Abhijit, yeah? I came on your podcast, yeah? I heard you're getting married. Without saying,
Yeah.
invite me. I'm like, so tell me about the groom, yeah? Tell me about his family, yeah? When is the wedding, yeah? And then, you're so embarrassed. You don't want to invite me for your wedding, but you're so embarrassed. You then have to say, yeah, it's on the 17th. Why don't you come over?
Okay.
So they're literally doing that. And then you know what they're going around saying? They're like, see, they were so impressed by what we did to the Indian Air Force. They are inviting us to give them briefings on it. This is what they're telling their own people.
People are believing it?
Yeah. See, their audience. Nah, I mean, Pakistan's a very conspiratorial country. They see conspiracy theories everywhere.
Yeah.
It is the hallmark of all suppressors. The more suppressed a society, the greater the propensity for conspiracy theories. So that's what's been happening out there. And it's a very, that's the second level of failure. The third level of failure is all the imagery we put out. They can't hide it anymore. See, in Balakot, they took all those ambassadors a month after the bombing and took them to a cleaned out area to say, well, this is where the bombs landed. Give me a break. Here, all the imagery is out there. So they are so upset that they want to carry out another attack. It is imperative now for Asim Munir to carry out an attack because, first of all, he planned this attack without telling his core commanders. The 11 core commanders of Pakistan are the people who actually run Pakistan. That's the real cabinet. Shehbaz Sharif is sort of like...
No comments.
Shehbaz or any Prime Minister of Pakistan is a bit like, it's in the Indian context. Modi is the prime, any elected prime minister, Modi, Manmohan Singh, Narasimha Rao, they are the real prime minister. That is where the power lies. Okay. Shehbaz Sharif is literally more useless than the Make in India lion. It's literally a cardboard cutout put on things. Shehbaz Sharif has as much power to bring in investment as the Make in India lion.
I see.
Okay. Now, that being the case, he now has to shore up. He's lost the confidence of his commanders, the public humiliation and things. So what does he have to do? He has to create a siege mentality, which is why we're almost certain there's another big terror attack coming. It is not going to be in Kashmir. It is going to be outside Kashmir, in Delhi, Bangalore, Madras, Bombay, someplace like that. We're almost certain about it because that is their modus operandi. We know generally what their mindset is. And there is a very, very high probability it will probably be directed out of Bangladesh. And the reason for that is the blame then goes on Bangladesh. You can't bomb Bangladesh because they're, till about a year back, they were a friendly country. But it can't be blamed on Pakistan. They want that immediate deniability. But what they've miscalculated is, as of Operation Sindoor, we no longer require proof to hit Pakistan. The very fact that a terror attack has been carried out in India, and even a whiff of any group being hosted in Pakistan is enough casus belli. Sorry, I shouldn't use Latin. It is enough of a reason for war to hit Pakistan direct. The Prime Minister's message on the 10th was not to Pakistan, it was to America. It's like, is baar tum dar gaye for nuclear blackmail. Next time, your nuclear blackmail will not work with us.
Abhijit, I'll interrupt you here because when you speak about US, there's a large section of Indians, including me to some extent initially, who felt that this was our great momentum. We had moral grounds high. And there were also sections that believed that this is a time when India could have at least tried attempting to take, POJK and so many other things. We just had a ceasefire announced by the president of US, not anyone from government of India. Second, we did not ask for those terrorists who did that in the first place. We did not even try to bargain out to bring Kulbhushan Yadav sir or anyone. What did we get out of it? And why was Mr. Trump allowed to do that?
So here's the thing. If you ask for something, they will play it for something more. Okay, now the ceasefire uh, was now Kirana Hills is a sideshow. Okay, this is just clutter. This is confusing the icing on the cake for the actual cake. Remove Kirana Hills from it. It's the nuclear command center. The command center which was also for nuclear at Noor Khan Air Base, which was the main thing. At that point, they convened a meeting of their nuclear command authority. Now, the Americans were very happy to let us do our own thing till the 10th, when this entire episode of the Noor Khan Air Base strike happened. That is when they panicked. Now, the moment you throw nuclear at America, they start panicking. Now, we know for a fact that Trump did not call anyone. It was J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio doing the talking. We told them very clearly that if they want a ceasefire, they have to call us up. We will not offer it. Number one. So let's get rid of this thing that America. Now, look, Trump likes to take credit for a lot of things. Good for him. I mean, if it helps him in his thing, let him take credit for it. हमारा क्या जाता है? The Chena Poda, I only made it. Now, if the hotel owner wants to take, credit for my chefing skills, good luck to him.
All the best. Odias are
All
going to
the
come
best,
back.
all the best. But when I leave your employment, understand, nobody will make the same chena poda. ठीक है ना? And तुम्हारा hotel collapse हो जाएगा. ठीक है. The second aspect of this is what Trump did, is what our war goals were. Did the government ever say we were taking POJK? No. ये खुद लोगों ने बनाया कि हम ये लेने वाले हैं, हम वो लेने वाले हैं, and all that nonsense, right? We were a very hyperbolistic kind of.
कराची भी ले रहे थे.
हाँ, कराची भी ले रहे थे. अरे कराची क्या, क्वेटा ले रहे थे, पता है? Modi personally called me, यार, and he said, अबे यार अभिजीत, हम ना क्वेटा लेने वाले हैं. Whatever. So we shouldn't get called into that. It is very clear now from all the public statements that the Prime Minister has made, that the Foreign Minister has made, that the Foreign Secretary has made, that the aim was always a very limited aim, that we were going to hit these 9 bases, terror bases, and we gave an off-ramp to the Pakistanis, which is between nuclear countries, this is the protocol. You always inform each other and give the other person an off-ramp. So in Syria, if you look at it, Israel, America, and Russia had a deconfliction arrangement, which is why, after the chemical attacks, when the Americans attacked Syrian bases, there were Russian forces located on those bases. The Americans called the Russians before the attack and said, we are going to hit these bases, please move your troops out. We do not want to hit you, we want to hit certain Syrian army chemical bunkers or units we think were responsible for the chemical attacks. And that is what was hit. Here, after the attacks had already commenced, we called them up and said, like any responsible, and why Israel? Because everybody knows Israel is a nuclear power. If you ask them, they'll say, really? We have nuclear weapons? We didn't know that, but we all know they do. So we called them up and said, look, we've only hit terror bases. You have an off-ramp. You can choose not to respond to this. Pakistan chose to respond to it. Even that was a trap. Understand, that was a trap we laid for them. It was both an off-ramp and a trap. Pakistan was given the option. We have only hit terror bases. You have the option for not responding militarily. But if you respond militarily, we didn't say the if part, but it came in Modi's speech on the 10th, remember, that we will not make a distinction between those who hit us and those who support them anymore, which means the Pakistan military will now be held responsible for every terror strike that happens on India. They didn't realize the kind of trap they were walking into. They've walked into all kinds of traps where we no longer have to provide proof. We no longer separate the military from terrorists in terms of strikes. And that was the option we offered to them. They walked into the trap. They chose to then hit us militarily after that. Okay. Now, when you choose to hit militarily, our goal was very simple. We never said we wanted to take territory and things like that. We achieved our initial operating goals. After that, it was just minimizing anything Pakistan can do to us. Look at the level and caliber of damage we caused on them. They are not able to produce a single satellite image of any kind of destruction in India. except in their own little, purple haze, cocaine or cocaine-induced purple haze. I think it's opium that leads to a purple haze, not but cocaine. But all my friends who've gone to shadis in Pakistan will tell you that they literally bring out mounds of cocaine in weddings. Literally mounds like that. You take as much as you want and go. This happens. I've seen this in Tehran, by the way. Of course, Iranians are much more cultured people. Let's not go there. They're very civilized, highly refined, sophisticated.
Every other country than Pakistan is.
Look, Pakistani elites are quite. There's no control on them, but we digress. So what ends up happening out here is the Pakistanis they're trying to talk up every element of it, whereas India was constantly doing de-escalation from day one. I think the issue has really been that the government, I don't know why, this government does a lot of, look, all governments do good things and bad things. This government does a lot of good things. They are just terrible at communicating things. Their communication strategy, when you sit down and talk to them, they're so crystal clear about what was achieved, what was not, even prior. I'm not saying with the benefit of hindsight. I'm like, sir, आपने ये क्यों नहीं बोला? Ma'am, आपने ये क्यों नहीं बोला? अरे भाई भूल गए थे, वो मजबूरी थी. Like, yaar, it's like, what do you do? It was very carefully calibrated. It was very well thought out. Even the de-escalation was very, very well thought out. Now understand, it takes very little now to trigger. The Prime Minister has clearly said that Operation Sindoor is on pause.
Yeah, it's not the end.
And imagine within the next 2 days, you grounded their F-16 fleet. You grounded most of their air force. Notice even when Pakistan claims they shot down how many 100, 500 fighters, I don't know, 5,000 fighters of ours. The claims are all on day one. There are no claims on day 2, day 3, which is when the attack on the Air Force bases and naval bases began. And I think naval base, but Air Force bases and some army bases here and there, mostly Air Force. What happened to their Air Force on day 2 and day 3? See, when we hit terror attacks, you claim you shoot down 500 of our aircraft. But when we start targeting your Air Force, you're not able to shoot down a single aircraft.
Hypocrisy.
I don't think the Pakistanis also realize how skewed
The logic is.
I mean, they've literally got cranial rectal inversion syndrome. They're just going deeper and deeper into these rhetorical traps, which they don't realize make them look stupid.
Pakistan is known for that. But Abhijit, while we say this, Ajit Doval sir once told, if there's one more attack on India, then Pakistan is going to lose Balochistan. Do you think that right now, Balochistan is India's pressure point?
Yes and no. I think we should be very careful about geography. See, the tyranny of geography is Afghans are our allies. How do we supply the Afghans? Okay. The Balochis are freedom fighters. How do we supply the Balochis? Okay. You don't have a land corridor to them. So I would always be very careful about these things, but the Balochis are brave freedom fighters, and I think India should always support freedom fighters. I think the Taliban are highly secular, progressive feminists in an Afghan cultural context, and we should support their campaign for women's liberation across the Pashtun areas, as opposed to the tyrannical feudal Pakistani state.
True that.
So, I think these are all noble causes that should be supported. The Taliban are my brothers. I have lots of friends in the Taliban. I'm very close to them. I really admire and respect them. I have seldom in a pre-modern pastoralist society have I seen such progressivism and feminism. And I think they're all our allies. They're all our brothers and friends and allies. And we should supporting all of them. The question is how.
Because we also have Quadriport and everything. Quadriport goes as a We have trade connection out there.
Well, we have it through Chabahar, but look, the Iranians also, they don't let us play our game.
Huh.
They are, they'll throttle it, let it go, throttle it, let it go, throttle it, let it go as and when it suits them. They're like, you will play our game, we will not allow you to play your game, which is why, we're not taking up new projects with the Iranians because it's pointless. The problem with the Iranians is the moment the moment the West sanctions them, they all come to India and say, oh, my Indian brothers, you spoke Farsi for 400 years in court. India for 3 centuries produced more Farsi literature than Iran did. And people to people contact was so great amongst the Persianate empires of the Gurkhani, the Mughal Empire, and Safavid Iran. And the moment the West lifts sanctions and they can go there and own cars and buy planes in the West, they'll be like, dude, you Indians, you don't even know how to speak Farsi properly, okay? You speak like pigeon Farsi, which honestly, even my driver can speak better Farsi than you. You're all dirty brown people. You stink. They're super racist, by the way. I don't think people realize that. I literally had, so there was this party up in Shemiran, which is this like super, super posh area of Tehran, just outside Tehran, up through the hills. And they're like, why you Indians eat so much spice? I think this is why you dark. Because I heard you eating spice make you dark.
Racist.
Total. And it's a very sweet, they're not trying to be racist, but it is. So, and they'll be like, Nadir Shah wasn't people to people contact. He came and killed 100,000 of you in Delhi. So, they play this game as and when it suits them. So Iran is a completely unreliable partner. Let's be very clear about this. There is a reason we have not taken Chabahar to all the dreams and ambitions we had of Chabahar. Iran is not a reliable partner. Full stop, period. They are not reliable. Okay. We don't want to make more enemies, that's fine. So we'll always keep them in our good books. But reliability, not being a friend and being an enemy are two different things.
Yeah. I only love baklava from there, nothing else. I mean, that's the only vegetarian I will get.
Iran has a lot of good things to eat.
Vegetarian?
Oh yeah, the vegetables in Iran are the best tomatoes on earth.
When are you going back?
Are Iranian tomatoes. And the hotel, like we got up very early because we had to go on a tour or something. And there was nothing yet on the buffet. This was at 5:30 a.m. I think breakfast started at 6. I'd gotten up a bit early and come down. And the only thing that was there was their paneer, which is kind of like feta cheese. Okay. Paneer. Yeah. And tomatoes. I'm like, yaar, ye kya hai? I was hungry, so tomato khate hain. And before that, I hadn't touched the cucumbers and tomatoes on the table because like, ye breakfast mein kaun khata hai sabzi? I put a tomato in my mouth and it's a tomato slice. Oh my God, what is this tomato, bro? This is insane. It was like super charged with flavor. It's that, that
Tomato.
Imagine
I can't.
It is better than an Italian tomato. It is, Russian tomatoes are better.
It's like a cherry tomato test.
No. It's a full, pura tomato, a big tomato. There's nothing to describe an Iranian tomato. If I rated tomatoes, I would say Iranian tomatoes, Russian and Ukrainian tomatoes, and then finally Italian tomatoes.
Okay.
Given a choice, I would not touch Italian tomatoes. I would choose Iranian tomatoes any day, every day of the week, even for Italian food. This overselling of Italian tomatoes is the biggest BS hype you've ever heard on earth. And then, once you opened up to tomatoes, you then start trying all their fruits and things like that. They're apricots, they're peaches, they're grapes, they're melons. You don't get those flavors in India anymore. And apparently it's because they do a lot of organic farming out there. So it tastes the way it used to taste once upon a time. And this was also the case in Afghanistan, by the way. The fruits and whatever you could taste there. When Babar says all these nasty things about Indians, like the fruits don't taste good here. He was talking about something else, by the way. When he said melons, he wasn't talking about melons. He was talking about...
We'll just pause.
Yeah.
If you know what he means.
If you know what I mean. I think everybody knows what I mean. Babar was renowned for that kind of thing. But you go there and try these things. It is truly, it brings, if you're passionate about food like I am, I've never tasted vegetables and fruits like that. I remember vague flavor memories from 30 years back when India hadn't gone into full commercial agriculture and we were still a largely, khet mein gobar kind of organic farming, forced organic farming. It wasn't out of choice. It used to be delicious stuff we used to have here, right? There are memories of that, but they're so old it doesn't trigger. But I remember food used to be a lot tastier once upon a time than it is now.
I'm making a list of all the things that next time when you're on a flight and I have to WhatsApp you, I need this from here.
Yeah. Everybody WhatsApps me, no matter where they are, for food recommendations.
Please go to South Korea and get me good skincare. I did your makeup.
I can't do skincare, but where you go for skincare apparently is Brazil. You can literally go to Brazil and get an in-outpatient facial reconstruction done at a shopping mall. And they are insanely good. So the people with lots of money to waste go to LA to get it done. The people with not too much money but want even better standards than LA go to Rio or Sao Paulo to get it done.
I'm waiting for you to be next time on the flight.
Which is, by the way, about Iran, Iran, it's a big thing. On the 18th birthday of the daughter, she's always gifted a nose job.
What?
Yeah, the father will gift her a plastic surgery to get her nose right. And that is why if you go to and see mannequins in Iran, in the semi-posh neighborhoods that are trying to get posh, you will have mannequins have a little nose patch here. Because you want to be cool and show that you've just had nose surgery when you can't afford it.
I mean, Botox is normal there.
Super normal.
I'll come to another question, while we talk about all of this thing, we talk about Botox. There is one major Botox happening where we see China. Everyone has that question. In all of this thing, how was China backing Pakistan?
They went. So I've heard all of this, that China is backing Pakistan, etc., etc. If you look at their diplomatic statements, they've been very, very neutral.
But HQ9P and
No. Those are military sales. Now let's look at military sales also. Once upon a time, Pakistan used to get everything for throwaway prices.
Oh, yeah.
Today, they have to pay full price for everything. Because, Pakistan used to get things for free from China under the promise that they would bog down Indian troops. Bog down Indian troops where? In Kashmir and in Punjab. The dual insurgency strategy, which is why Chatti Singhpura massacre was an aberration where Sikh families were killed. Otherwise, their thing was to keep the Punjab insurgency on full steam and the Kashmir insurgency on full steam, and they could show to China, listen, we have bogged down they used to claim 700,000 troops. Remember, there's also a marketing brochure for the Chinese. There were never more than about 300,000 troops maximum. 2-3 lakh troops out there maximum, including paramilitary and stuff. But they always used to claim, sometimes I've seen estimates go as high as 1 million troops, where in Kashmir and Punjab at peak insurgency, complete rubbish. But this was the marketing brochure they used to give the Chinese, and the Chinese used to say, okay, so this is what you've done. We'll give you this much of a discount for this, and you can take all of these at discounted prices. Today, they have to pay everything full price from the Chinese. Now, how is China supporting them? See, purchase of arms is not support.
Yeah.
That's like saying, America supported us during Operation Sindoor. They pressed for the ceasefire, right? Did they support us? No. But because we've bought, P-8 Poseidon aircraft and C-130 aircraft, America supported. Yeah, come along.
Okay.
So I'm not buying this China support angle. Is China a malignant player? Yes. Okay, I'm not saying China is benign or anything like that. They're devious crooks. And I think we should be gifting a few nuclear bombs to Taiwan just for fun. But that's a different matter. They're malignant crooks who need to be dealt with in different ways. Remember, we are the weaker nation when it comes to China. We should never think we are Pakistan that's able to stand up to India. We shouldn't become a Pakistan vis-a-vis China. We need to be much smarter dealing with China. Don't go down the self-destructive path that Pakistan has gone down. The set of strategies we need for China is very different from the set of strategies we need for Pakistan.
Pakistan. While we talk about this, there's another question that I would come with. Speak about arms, we speak about war there. But now when we see there's a different kind of, disturbance, internal disturbance. Like for an example, I was taken aback that a girl from Haryana could go out to be in the espionage link and come out to be a spy, which is something I'm taken aback. Do you think right now we are facing a new kind of internal infiltration, and how is it a threat?
So I'll tell you what, working in a think tank, it's a very, very fine line between espionage and anything can become an intelligence asset. I'm going to give Jyoti Malhotra the full benefit of the doubt. Now, okay, just to be clear, there is a Jyoti Malhotra YouTuber and there is a Jyoti Malhotra journalist.
I was waiting for this to come.
Who's the editor of the Tribune, who's a very dear friend of mine. So that's a different, we need to separate these two. So when we're talking about Jyoti Malhotra right now, we're talking about the YouTuber. Now, what happens with Jyoti is, she goes to Pakistan, they see she's an Indian YouTuber with lots of influence and they know how to play foreigners. Even a bachelor's level student coming in from America will be given, they'll find out you're a bachelor's student doing political science or whatever. They will treat you like a royalty. You'll be hosted suddenly. You'll be living in a dirty, filthy backpacker where the bathroom you won't even want to go into. They'll suddenly take you up to a retired general's house and make you stay there. They'll charm you. They'll host high society parties for you. For your bachelor's thesis, you'll practically get to invite the deputy. You may not be the chief of army staff, but you'll get to, interview the deputy chief of army staff. They will pay for your trips to the border to show you a very sympathetic thing. Now, suddenly, young person, unknown pipsqueak, suddenly gets this much access. Will you or will you not want to maintain that access and play the game? As opposed to India, where even if you're a bloody professor, you're the head of political science at Harvard Kennedy School. You forget the joint secretary, bro. Even the chaprasi in South Block will be, "Kaun hai betu? Chal phut yahan se sale." That is their general attitude.
Yeah.
The Pakistanis play this whole PR game in a very sophisticated way. Our PR game is to treat the dean of Harvard Kennedy School exactly the way he deserves to be treated. So, I'm always caught between it. I think the Indian treatment of these highfalutin deans of Western universities and their PhD students is actually appropriate to their mental faculties and their professional prowess. On the other hand, there is a great value to what Pakistan does, which is mollycoddle and cajole these people. Now, Jyoti is one of those classic cases that fell into that classic Pakistani thing. She was then given security to move around. Why? Because single women, and this is what people don't realize, single women moving around in Pakistan get molested left, right, and center.
And that would go on a video.
That would go on a video. So they need to protect her from that. They needed to be visibly this thing. Then you start getting close to them. And then you're discussing normal things. At what point do you cross that threshold where it becomes spying? I don't know. And that is why anytime there is a track to event in Bangkok or Dubai or Athens or wherever, just to cover all the bases, I will always send a long note to Government of India on official email or WhatsApp showing that I have reported every conversation. You respect Chatham House rules and you don't say this person said that. But this is everything that was said. Okay.
You don't expect us
now, to be fair to Jyoti didn't have any contact with Indian intel. So was she given the opportunity to report? Did she report?
Why was it not even picked when she got a visa?
Or maybe she was an actual spy.
Which
is she was looking at aircraft taking off and things like that and immediately messaging her handler saying, "Abhi maine ye dekha hai, wo dekha hai." She went around talking to people and then presented. See, you should never send a written report to the Pakistanis.
Of course.
She was doing that. So it's
But then, I still have a thing that why was she given a visa? Even when she got there, why was there no
The
Indian?
Pakistanis want to give her visas.
The Indian government could have got in
Trust me,
touch with
if
her.
you go to Pakistan today, I can guarantee you'll be treated like royalty out there.
There's no veg food, I'll not go.
So apparently all these restaurants in Pakistan have this one vegetarian dish on the menu called mixed veg, and they put all the vegetables they can get their hands on into water with some garam
Ew.
masala and some haldi, some ginger, garlic and onion, and they just boil it and serve it up.
But then, Abhijit, the government knew that. Why did they not get in touch? Now, if you're going to Pakistan, I would obviously give you a call and say, hey, tell me what happened there.
But look, the government, listen, we're a country of 1.4 billion.
Yeah, true.
We're not Sweden or Norway that can contact its people and, say, we heard you're going there and please be careful. No. It's 1.4 billion people going. There's no direct air link. So you're going via Dubai. Will they check your onwards ticket also?
But then there were Pakistanis who were staying in India, and like right before Operation Sindoor, the MH just woke up and they were like, "Wapas jao." Why were they
now
there?
imagine what was happening during NRC and CAA.
Achhi baat hai na?
है ना? So it's a good thing. We got to know about all these things. Now imagine these are the people we know about. How many more are there that we do not know about?
They were voting in India.
Voting in India that had no right to Indian citizenship. I think they've strengthened the case for CAA, NRC and an expulsion of foreigners. I think you will get a lot more when the Bangladeshi illegals start getting caught. So it's for me, the jury is always out on Jyoti Malhotra so far. I have no reason to dispute she's a spy. Question is, did she know she was spying, or was she dumb?
Yeah.
Did she know she was being played? Now, the problem with spying is, even if she did not know she was being played, थोड़ी अकल होनी चाहिए. In law, there is a principle, ignorantis juris non excusat.
Yeah.
Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. I didn't know I'm not meant to kill somebody, really? मेरे को पता नहीं था, मेरे को
The intel thing that you told. Exactly.
So you can't, she'll have to be punished. The question is, was the information she shared serious enough, number one?
How did she get it?
Number two, was it active collusion or was it stupidity? Yeah. Irrespective, there is some jail time involved.
Abhijit, I'll come to this part where, I was spellbound by the speech of Mr. Omar Abdullah, where he says that I'm not going to demand for statehood. I'm not going to ask for this. It was very raw, honest, and humanized. How do you see this?
So, a lot of people will accuse the Abdullahs of going with the flow. When, Pakistan has the upper hand, they'll say, talk to Pakistan. Pakistan is a stakeholder. Then when they know Pakistan is no longer a stakeholder, they will say something else. But you tell me, isn't that what a politician is meant to do? See, you can either be very smart like Farooq and Omar Abdullah and do what the people want you to do. What is the public? Listen, that is what a politician is meant to do. Unlike, say, Rahul Gandhi, who's trying to force something into, he's trying to force a 5-kilo bag of rice into a Coca-Cola bottle. You can't shoehorn things like that, right? But see, that is the nature of Indian democracy. So the Abdullahs are, but look, the Abdullahs have always been quite pro-India, unlike, say, Mehbooba Mufti, who's not. I mean, why did the PDP come about? It was precisely because the National Conference would, they would go with the flow, which is kind of what an election is kind of meant to be. You can't say, I'm going to get rid of all government jobs and sack you and then expect you're all stupid and you vote for me. नहीं, जो आम बोलेगी वही तुमको भी बोलना पड़ेगा. And there's the Dullat interview which didn't go down very well. But look, the Abdullahs in private have always said we're with India. But you have to tell us what you want us to do. We don't know what the end goal is. You're just letting us, वो क्या है वो बर्थडे गेम वो ब्लाइंड फोल्ड करके उसको ढूंढना पड़ता है. What's it called? Piñata. हाँ, piñata. You have to beat that thing when you're blindfolded, na? Kind of thing. And then you want us to be clear about things. No. All politicians have to be this thing about it. The PDP came about how? Mufti Muhammad Saeed started it as the political wing of the Hizbul Mujahideen. the intellectual wing of the Hizbul Mujahideen. Now, in Ireland, for example, there was the Sinn Féin and the IRA. The Sinn Féin was the political wing of the IRA that used to contest elections. The IRA was the terrorist wing of the Sinn Féin.
Yeah.
In Kashmir, there were three parts of this. The Jamaat-e-Islami was the so-called intellectual religious wing. The PDP was the political wing that contested elections, and the Hizbul Mujahideen was the military wing that used to conduct terror operations. They're essentially all three the same thing. Okay, which is why you will find that what was the need for that party? Why was there a lacuna that had to be filled? Had the National Conference been as Pakistani, whatever as people claim it was, then Pakistan should have never required a PDP. No? The PDP was formed for a reason, precisely because the Abdullahs have tried as far as possible to go along with India. Now they see what the public mood is, they see the prosperity it's bringing, and so Omar Abdullah will go along with that. I think there's a fundamental difference when you're looking at, look, all politicians are opportunists. I mean, tell me, you and I aren't opportunists. क्या? अगर हमको कोई opportunity मिलेगा, हम क्या बोलेंगे कि, look, honestly.
Depending upon the ROI.
This is, by the way, an open message to Adani ji and Gautam bhai
Please sponsor us.
And Mukesh bhai. No, please don't sponsor her. Please sponsor me. If you give me 1,000 crores, I will start supporting Rahul Gandhi ji. Okay.
You last time, this is not the last time you did say for Dipender Goyal and Bhavesh to sponsor us. This time you got to appeal someone else to sponsor us.
So there are these compulsions. Listen, politics is about, if you are rigid in politics, you go down the civil war path. Sri Lanka went into civil war. Why? Because they didn't want to compromise. Politics is the art of compromise.
True.
The Abdullahs have been, the one thing I will never accuse the Abdullahs of is treason or being Pakistani or anything like that. Okay, maybe our politics don't match, but they've been pretty damn loyal to India. The same cannot be said for the PDP. Let's be very clear about that. Even at its absolute worst, I will choose the National Conference over the PDP any day, every day, day after day, every single day.
I'll come to the last question before we go to the rapid fire. We say at India that we have diplomatically isolated Pakistan. In spite of that, at IMF, they managed to get grants. Where did we go back?
Okay, so those are pre-released grants. Think of it, look at this from the Western point of view. Pakistan hasn't crossed a line with them. Now, we don't want to cross a certain line with Russia when Russia invaded Ukraine, right? Why do you expect the West to come to your help? Why do you expect the IMF not to release money to Pakistan? Because they know their biggest worry with Pakistan is if that money is not released and Pakistan collapses, what happens to all the lunatics in Pakistan? Where do they go? If there is a refugee crisis, what happens to Europe in places like that? Okay, they're putting Europe first, or America first, as the case is. Congratulations to them. Just as we will put India first.
Yeah.
The next time they say, oh, we should talk to Russia or whatever, what do you think we're going to say? Imagine which of these fingers I lift up to them the next time they tell us to sanction Russia.
I get it. I'll come to the, the most controversial part that always happens with you, the rapid fire. If you were India's NSA for 1 week, 3 things you would immediately change.
New revised nuclear doctrine. Legislation that would force all 3 parts of the military to unify procurement. They cannot have different equipment. And they certainly can't be running different competitions. And their air fleets all need to be a common pool, which everybody borrows from. And the third thing would be a much more transparent process of promotions.
What is that one defense threat India is ignoring right now and we may regret tomorrow?
China. It's not that we're ignoring it, it's that no amount of attention is enough, because what's required is a economic response. Till you catch up to China economically, no matter how brilliant and good your military is, economic size determines what happens in a war.
Which is your favorite news site, The Wire, The Print, or The News Laundry?
Well, news laundry is a bit like walking into a dirty public toilet, so definitely not them. I would have to say The Wire. It gives me a very good overview of what the other side is thinking. I think as far as opposition thought leadership goes, they're probably... I can open The Wire and immediately know what the opposition's thinking.
Interesting.
With The Print, they did that paid piece. After that, I lost all respect for them. So ignore. And public toilets, of course, you don't visit public toilet. I don't visit public toilets unless I'm in severe, the throes of severe diarrhea.
PM Modi in 2025, ex-PM Indira Gandhi ji in 1971. The major difference and the better leader.
Very difficult to say because different realities. Economically, Modi, no doubt. Absolutely no doubt about it. In terms of security, very hard to gauge because Indira Gandhi operated when nuclear weapons weren't in play. Modi is operating when nuclear weapons are in play. You can't compare that.
Who is more humorous, Pakistan Army or Indian newsrooms?
Pakistan Army any day, bro. Like, I literally watch Pakistan Army press conferences for fun.
Better defense move, buying Rafales or banning social media influences? Like Abhijit, Iyer, Mitra.
Both are deadly weapons if you know how to use them. See, you can't use a butter knife to cut meat. And you shouldn't be using a meat knife to spread butter on toast. They both have their value. I won't run down one for the other.
Is Mr. Shashi Tharoor the new Atal Bihari Vajpayee of this government?
I think he's always been that. What Atal Bihari Vajpayee was to Narasimha Rao. You know, people like Shashi Tharoor, Manish Tiwari, Anand Sharma, they're the old school Congress, okay, which is when India called, everybody dropped their political differences and supported India. There is the new school Congress, which is so odious, I can never bring myself to vote for it. But you know, people like Shashi Tharoor, Manish Tiwari, that's the grand old Congress we knew, which was very nationalistic. Today, nationalism has become a dirty word for the Congress, right? But was there ever any doubt that Shashi Tharoor, Manish Tiwari and all these people were that school?
Mr. Shashi Tharoor or Mr. OSU? Who is the one you can trust easily?
I would say Shashi Tharoor any day. OSC is to BJP ka B team, no? BJP uses him to split the Muslim vote.
Who is the next guest you would recommend for the podcast?
Who should you interview next? Rakhi Sawant.
What?
Yeah.
You want some poha?
I'm recommending Rakhi Sawant because you fed me poha.
I'll get you poha even after this.
No, thank you.
One word describe Abhijit Iyer Mitra. How?
Deranged.
One word or one sentence for Desi Dialogues with Naimisha. Please bring the poha plates.
Fun because it's informal.
Love you.
I love you too.
So, with this, we come to the conclusion, or maybe just the beginning of a lot of trolls, a lot of disagreements.
Please like, subscribe, and share. And feel free to abuse me as much as you want in the comments.
Not me.
Abuse her also because it's good for the general algorithms, the YouTube algorithms. It really works well. So please take that effort and go into the comments and give me or Naimisha achhe maa baap ki galis.
My maa baap would be watching the show and they love you.
See, I love them too. But see, I think mommy and papa need to encourage their daughter, and they should also be encouraging those galis because it increases the
Algorithm
the
out
comments.
there.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah.
And we are waiting for your comments. And more than that, we are waiting to understand your diverse opinion. You can disagree, you can agree, and maybe just ignore. But beyond that, watch this entire podcast. Make an opinion. It may not be in any side, but have your own opinion. No matter whatever the differences be, we at India and whoever the guests be, we collectively stand with one narrative, that is, we officially hate Pakistan, no matter whatever disagreements we can have. This cannot be disagreed. This cannot be disagreed.
I don't think India hates the Pakistani people, but they
The
certainly hate what Pakistan has turned itself into politically. India is a very forgiving, big hearted country. We will never do to Pakistan what they do to us. We will never sink to that level. This, civilizational hate or whatever, this is what they have turned themselves into, nasty, hateful creatures. I'm never going to sink to that level.
And beyond everything, India stands united against terrorism. No matter who you are, wherever you are, whatever school of thought you come from, there's one thing we all together stand. That is, terrorism in any form cannot be accepted. And today I was talking to my very good friend, one of the most prominent defense expert of the country, very controversial, who loves going to the court, who loves eating poha with me, who loves the jail in my state.
Odisha jails are the best, bro.
See, he promotes that.
Like, my jailer was so sweet. He would go out of his way to. He was very worried I wasn't eating food.
अरे भाई रुको उनका नौकरी चला जाएगा क्या बोल रहे हो? And we cut this.
Oh yeah, we cut this.
See you guys again. Take care and Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.